It's always great to be here tonight. We've been together for many years, and it's really so special, and going back to some of the early people in Forest Hills and Queens. So we have a long history together, and it's really so special whenever I come. I really just love teaching the shiurim here. I also want to thank Hadassah, who does an amazing job organizing all of these shiurim, and thanks to her. Right? This is really going on year 14, which is really amazing. I also just want to give a mention. My mother's yahrzeit was last week. We actually had an unbelievable memorial in the Museum of Jewish Heritage in her memory, and it was Chet Cheshvan, so it's really just a week ago. So I just want to mention her, that the shiur is also going to be Le'ilui Nishmat Yafa Bat Moshe Eliyahu V'Tzipora, Dr. Yafa Elyach, who really just was an amazing woman. And whenever I learn about the Neviot or any of the great women in Tanakh, I really always think about my mother as well, because she was just such an amazing role model and personality, and really contributed to Am Yisrael in the memory of the Holocaust and commemorating the Holocaust, and the importance of our roots in spiritual resistance and spiritual life. So I just want to mention that as well. Okay, our question for today, right, is was the Nevuah, right, and Torah teaching of Chulda Hanevia unique? That's really our question for this evening. And right away I want to give some answers, and then we're going to go into the Mekorot and the Mefarshim to see things more in depth. But what's very fascinating is, was the Nevuah of Chulda unique? We're going to see that it was not really unique, the actual Nevuah. Yeshayahu said something very similar to Chizkiyahu right before, right? Chizkiyahu is Yoshiyahu's, right, great-grandfather, and Yeshayahu says something very similar to Chizkiyahu. So the actual Nevuah, the words, the tochacha that she gives is not so unique. Actually, Yirmiyahu Hanavi also said many tochachot, and really we only have few lines, of her Nevuah. So what is unique about it? It's unique, of course, that she is Chulda, so she is a woman giving a Nevuah, but that's also not so unique, because we already have several Nevi'ot already before Chulda in Tanakh. The Torah teaching of Chulda, we're going to see that that's already getting a little closer. It's very interesting, right? In the Pshat, we only have the Nevuah of Chulda, but we'll see the Parshanim, and especially Rashi, have a very interesting explanation of what she was teaching. And our question is also going to be, was that unique? Is it only unique because a woman was doing it? Was it something unique about what she was doing? Or what was her role? So that's one of our big questions. And our other question is going to be, what about the venue? Where was Chulda teaching? Right? Is that unique? And we're going to come to some conclusions, right, by the end of the shiur. But generally, right, what we want to understand is, who was Chulda? When did she live? Who were the Melachim or Melech during her time? What was her contribution? And important for us is not only what the Pshat says, but what do Chazal say about Chulda? Which means, what is their hashkafa about Chulda? What do they want us to learn about Chulda? What's their Masorah about Chulda? Also, what's their message to us, the Parshanim? What are their understanding about Chulda? What do they want us to understand about Chulda? So that's what we're going to try to understand, and then to see Chulda within the context in the end of the Neviot, and other important women in Tanakh, and to see, so what is the message? What is the message of the Neviot? What is the message of Chulda? And how can that really relate to us today? So let's look at the Mekorot. Let's start right away. Now, Chulda Neviah, look on page 1. Chulda Neviah is mentioned in Melachim Bet, Perek Kaf Bet, and she is Neviah, right, during the time of Yoshiyahu. Yoshiyahu was a melech. He is the son of Ammon, the grandson of Menashe, and the great-grandson of Chizkiyahu. Chizkiyahu was a great melech, right? He is the one who davened so amazingly. He is the one who stops the Assyrians, right, from coming into Yerushalayim, right? And he is the one that really does amazing tshuva. And during his time, Bnei Israel really come back to Hashem, come back to the Beit HaMikdash. But his son, Menashe, is one of the most evil kings ever. Menashe brings Avodah Zarah into the Beit Mikdash, right? And he only does a personal tshuva later in life. He does try to get the people on board, and he throws some of the Avodah Zarah over the wall, but he doesn't destroy it. And we see that Bnei Israel are still entrenched in Avodah Zarah during Menashe's time. Menashe's son Ammon is also, right, someone who is a Rasha, but he only lives for 2 years. And Ammon's son is Yoshiyahu, and Yoshiyahu becomes king when he's 8. Look at Pasuk Aleph, right? Yoshiyahu becomes king when he's 8. So he is a Baal Tshuva, right? His grandfather, Menashe, was one of the most evil kings, and Yirmiyahu and the other Nevi'im say, why did Churban come? Because of the Chataim of Menashe. They were so entrenched to bring Avodah Zarah into the Beit HaMikdash. That's what the Syrian Greeks did in the story of Chanukah, right? So this is the same thing. Menashe does that. He's a Jewish king, the son of Chizkiyahu HaMelech, right? He brings Avodah Zarah to the Beit HaMikdash. Because of that, the Churban is going to come. And the question is, can you do tshuva for that, right? Was that possible or not? So look inside. Yoshiyahu was 8 years old, and he rules for 31 years. And of course, interesting for us is that they mention his mother's name, Yedida bat Adaya mi Batzkat. They mention the mother's name, and very much to tell us that Yedida, right, a friend of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? And the idea is that even though Ammon, right, was a Ocher Yisrael, right, and Menashe was an Ocher Yisrael, these are two evil kings, still, right, Yoshiyahu somehow got some kind of love of Torah and mitzvot, of Avodat Hashem, from his mother. In many places we mention, the Jewish mother in Sefer Melachim in order to give over that idea. And if you look at Pasuk Bet, V'yasa Yashar B'nei Hashem, he is such a good king, he is identified with David HaMelech. Usually we don't identify kings with David HaMelech. We say, he was as good as his father, right? But if you're really unusual, you are identified with David HaMelech, V'losar Yaminu Small. He is a Melech who's going B'derech Hashem, a Baal Tshuva, young guy. He is 8 years old. So in addition to his mother, we'll see that there are 3 individuals, right, who are always his assistants. They're making sure the Avodah in the Beit HaMikdash is going to be good. They are the ones who will go to Chulda Hanevia. They're his messengers. So we also know that through these individuals are his mentors, making sure, right, that he knows Dvar Hashem. And in the 18th year, Pasuk Gimel, right, Melech Yoshiyahu, right, sends Shaphan, right, to Bet Hashem. And he says, go to Chilkiyahu HaKohen HaGadol. So we see he's connected with the main sofer of that time, the main scribe of that time. He is also connected with Chilkiyahu, who's Kohen HaGadol, father of Yirmiyahu, right? And what do? They have all this money, right, for Bedek HaBayit that has always been given to the Beit HaMikdash, and he wants the Beit HaMikdash to be refurbished. The Beit HaMikdash should be refurbished. It's been neglected all these years. We know Menashe brought Avodah Zarah to the Beit HaMikdash, right? Doesn't maintain it. Ammon, his father, is not maintaining it. It's been 200 years since Yoash that we really did a good renovation in the Beit HaMikdash, right? And they want to refurbish in the Beit HaMikdash. They trust the workers so much, right, that they don't even check, right, the money they're giving, what the work they're doing, supervision, right, because they feel that they have a lot of integrity. Look at Pasuk Chet, right? But when they're cleaning and working in the Beit HaMikdash, we're in Pasuk Chet, right? Chilkiyahu HaKohen HaGadol says to Shaphan, when they were refurbishing in the Beit HaMikdash, they found a Sefer Torah. They found a Sefer Torah. He gives Chilkiyahu the Sefer Torah, and they read it, right? And when they read this Sefer Torah, right, they wonder, what is going on, right? Pasuk Yud Aleph, they read this, Pasuk Yud, right? They tell the king, we found this Sefer Torah, right? Sefer Natan L'Chilkiyahu Kohen, Vayikre'eu Shaphan Lifnei Melech. So Shaphan the scribe reads the Sefer Torah that Chilkiyahu found in the Beit HaMikdash when they were refurbishing. And when the Melech hears the Divrei Torah, he rends his clothing. So when they open the Sefer Torah, they find, right, a tochacha, or a message, right, in the Sefer Torah. I want you to turn now to page 2, number 9. What's the question you all have? What? Number 1, what did they read? What was the message? Number 2, you also have to ask me another question.
What happened?
How could they not have the Sefer Torah? Right? How could they not have a Sefer Torah? Right? When they're refurbishing, how could they not have a Sefer Torah? What kind of Sefer Torah? What is the message here? What was it open to? What Sefer Torah are we talking about? Are we talking about all the Sefer Torah? What is happening here? So first we're going to read Rashi. Rashi says, Sefer Torah Matzati, on page 2, number 9. Sefer Torah Matzati, Tamun Tachat HaNidbach, right? It was hidden under a cornerstone. Shehitmino Sham, Ksesaraf Achaz et HaTorah. When Achaz burnt the Torah. Achaz is Chizkiyahu's father. Now, Achaz was evil. Chizkiyahu does tshuva. Chizkiyahu's son, Menashe, is evil, right? Menashe's son is evil Ammon, and we see Yoshiyahu does tshuva. So we see a very interesting pattern in the Melachim. We have some evil kings, and then we have their sons doing amazing tshuva. So Achaz, according to Rashi, his medrash that he's quoting, saying that Achaz burnt the Sefer Torah, and it was hidden under a cornerstone, and now they're finding it. So we have to ask a question that the other Mefarshim ask. Radak asks, how could it be that they didn't have Sefer Torah? Because who was already king after Achaz? Chizkiyahu, who was a good king. Could it be that a Sefer Torah wasn't around during the time of Chizkiyahu, who was such a good king? So Radak says that really we mean Menashe burnt all the Sifrei Torah. Menashe, who did Avodah Zarah, he burns the Sifrei Torah, and that's why there were no Torahs around. And then the Kohanim saved one Sefer Torah, right? The original Sefer Torah, right? There was always at the side of the Aron. They thought Menashe was going to burn it, right? So they hid it. So then the Mitzudat David said, it doesn't mean that all the Sifrei Torah, right, were burned. They had to have some Sifrei Torah. So the Mitzudat David says, it was that the Sefer Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote, which means they were worried that the special Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote, that was always in the Kodesh Kodashim at the side of the Aron, right? They were worried that that was going to be destroyed because Menashe didn't care about Kodesh Kodashim or anything. He brought Avodah Zarah in, and that's the Sefer Torah we're talking about. Not that they didn't have Sifrei Torah. That's the specific Sefer Torah that we're talking about. And the Malbim also agrees with that it was during Menashe's time, and it was really that specific copy, right, from Moshe Rabbeinu, Torah Misinai, that was hidden. And the question is also, so they're finding a Sefer Torah, right, and we also have to understand, on the one hand, we're thinking, it's only 55 years that Menashe was king. Ammon was only king for 2 years, 57 years. This is happening in the 10th year of Yoshiyahu. So it's really 67 years since they had Chizkiyahu, since they had a good king. So you could ask, what do you mean? All forgot all the Torah that they knew, or they forgot all the important laws and regulations, right? They were in a certain state of, Avodah Zarah, or at least the important people were in hiding, and the main people didn't really know about what was going on. What is Dvar Hashem? So sometimes, we don't realize or we don't think back to it, but I was always shocked how, let's say, the Jews of the Soviet Union or Jews who are assimilated, right? That generation, right? In one generation, right? You have so much that is forgotten, which means it is absolutely possible. And that's why the chain of the Masorah every single year, every single generation is so important to make sure that it continues. And the chain of the Masorah continued because we always had the important people who were loyal to the Torah and mitzvot, but the general population, right? We're very influenced by these kings. So let's look back to Rashi, page 2, number 9. The question is, so what was written? Our two question is, how could we be missing a Sefer Torah? So one view is, it was Menashe burnt as many as he can, right? And they hid the Sefer Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu to make sure it would be saved. And they had like clandestine copies, but it wasn't something that was known. The other view is, right, that it was during Achaz's time. We're only talking about the Sefer Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. But the point is, right, could that be? So another view is that Rashi is saying that Achaz wanted to burn, right, the Sefer Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. They hid it, and when they opened up this Sefer Torah, this special Sefer Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu, what was it open to? And look at the next line of Rashi. Dirshu Hashem ba'adi, ra'a katuv yolech Hashem otcha vet malkecha, which means it was open to the Tochacha. It was open to the Tochacha in Sefer Dvarim that said, Hashem is going to lead you and your king into Galut. So they were horrified, which means Bnei Israel were in Eretz Yisrael. They had the Beit HaMikdash. There were many things that happened, right? Good kings, bad kings. Bnei Israel were choteim, Bnei Israel did tshuva. But the Beit HaMikdash was always intact. It was never destroyed. And here they were opening up to Sefer Dvarim, and they see, is that a message to our generation that we are going to go into Galut? Is it possible that the Beit HaMikdash is going to be destroyed and we are going to leave Eretz Yisrael? They were in Eretz Yisrael for hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years if you're going all the way back. And now we're going to be taken away from our homeland, from our Bet Mikdash, right? From HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're going to go into Galut. So it was very distressful, right? Very distressing. Now, let's go back to the Pshat. Go back to page 1, right? So they want to find out, what does this mean? So who do they go to? Pasuk Yud Gimel, right? Vayetzav HaMelech, right? Pasuk Yud Bet, the Melech orders his 3 important men, right? Chilkiah, Achikam, and Shaphan. And what does he tell them? Pasuk Yud Gimel. L'chu dirshu et Hashem ba'di. Ask Hashem. Right? What does this mean? Right? What does this mean that we found the Sefer Torah opened up to the message of the Galut? Is Galut really going to happen? Is it possible that we're going to be ripped away from the Beis HaMikdash, from Eretz Yisrael? He said, go ask Hashem for me and for the whole nation and for all Am Yehuda. Al divrei hasefer hanimtza hazeh. About this Sefer that we found, this Sefer Torah. Ki gdolah chamat Hashem. The anger of Hashem is so great, which means they understood, the Melech understood, that the anger of Hashem is so great. He understood what the actions of his father, of his grandfather, Menashe, was, right? He knew what Ammon did. That's why he was so focused on doing tshuva, right? And getting Bnei Israel together, on refurbishing the Beit HaMikdash. So he tells them, you must ask Hashem, because he knows Hashem's anger is so great. And also he says, Asher lo shamu, still in Pasuk Yud Gimel, Asher lo shamu avotenu al divrei ha-sefer hazeh. They didn't listen to the Sefer Torah to do whatever we're supposed to do, which means Bnei Israel did Avodah Zarah, they didn't do Torah Hashem, and that's why all of this happened. So who do they go to? Pasuk Yud Gimel. So Chilkiah Kohen, Achikam, and Shaphan, the 3 main leaders, right, his assistants in that generation, right, these are the great Torah scholars, the Kohen Gadol, this is the Sofer, right, these are the great leaders, and Achbor, right, they go to Chulda Hanevia. They go to Chulda Hanevia to ask her, what does this mean in the Sefer Torah? Are we going to go into Galut or not? What is this anger? What can we do to change everything that is happening, right? And how is she described? So they go to Chulda Hanevia. Right away it tells us she's a Neviah. So we know that she is a Neviah. She's Eshet Shalom ben Tikvat ben Charchas. They tell us her husband, right? And what does he do? Shomer habagadim. He guards the clothes. V'hi yoshevet b'Yerushalayim. And she sits in Yerushalayim. B'mishneh. What does that mean? Where is she sitting? What's the significance of this? Vayidabru elea. And they speak to her. Now, if Chulda was the only Neviah of that generation, then we would say, of course, whoever's the Neviah, whoever's the Navi, that's who you go to. But we're going to see very interestingly, okay? Please go to the bottom of page 1, source number 3. But we know there were other Nevi'im during that time. Who were the other Nevi'im? Yirmiyahu and Sephania. We had 2 other major Nevi'im during that time, right? And we definitely know about Yirmiyahu. What is he? A super major Navi. We have Yirmiyahu and we have Sephania during that time. Let's look. Page 1, source number 3, Yirmiyahu Perek Aleph. How do we know Yirmiyahu was during that time? Because it says so. Divrei Yirmiyahu ben Chilkiyahu. And not only is he ben Chilkiyahu, is he during that time, we're going to see, whose son is he? Chilkiah Kohen, one of the great 3 leaders who are going to, right, Chulda HaNeviah, right, is Yirmiyahu's father. Divrei Yirmiyahu ben Chilkiyahu min ha-kohanim asher ba'anatot be'eretz Binyamin. Right, Yirmiyahu is a Kohen, right, he is a Navi, and he lives in Anatot in Eretz Binyamin, in the outskirts of Yerushalayim. Pasuk Bet. Asher hayad dvar Hashem elav bimei Yoshiyahu ben Amon melech Yehuda bishlosh esrei shana lemolko. He is a Navi. He starts in the 13th year of Yoshiyahu. Now, there are 2 different views. Look at our pasuk. Go back to the top of the page. We're still on page 1. You have the same pages as I or not? Okay. Top of page 1. Right? Look at pasuk Gimel. All this is happening. Vayhi b'shmoneh esrei shana lamelech Yoshiyahu. Is it when he's 18 years old? Then it's before Yirmiyahu's time. But if it's in his 18th year of reign, which most of the Parshanim think, then who's around? Yirmiyahu is around. Yirmiyahu is Navi during the time of Chulda Hanevia. And he is already a Navi for a few years. It's the beginning of his reign, but he is a Navi. So we have Yirmiyahu. Who else do we have during the time of Chulda? Turn the page to page 2. Look at source number 4. Who else is a Navi during that time? We said Tzfanya. Right? Dvar Hashem asher hayal Tzfanya ben Kushi ben Gedalia ben Amaria ben Chizkiah b'mei Yoshiyahu ben Amon melech Yehuda. So who was the main Navi during Yoshiyahu's time? Tzfanya. So we also know we have Tzfanya. So we're going to read the Radak. Right? So what does the Radak say? We have all these different Nevi'im, so why pick Chulda? What's unusual about her that we went to her? Right? So what does that mean? No, that's the big question. We're going to see this. What does that mean? Okay? Does that change anything or not? Radak, right? Tzfanya Perek Aleph, source number 5, page 2, source number 5. What does it say? Right? And I'm going to start from the middle that is important to us. Ushlosha Nevi'im. Right? I'm on line 3, source 5, page 2, line 3. Okay? Or line 2, last words of line 2. Ushlosha Nevi'im nitnabu b'mei Yoshiyahu. 3 Nevi'im were in the time of Yoshiyahu. Yirmiyahu, Tzfanya, and Chulda. We have 3 great Nevi'im. Va'amru Rabbeinu zichronam livracha. Ki Yirmiyah haya mitnaveh bashvakim. Right? Yirmiyahu was mostly in the marketplace. Right? And many times you can imagine Yirmiyahu when he was free and the Melech didn't put him in shackles. Not Yoshiyahu, but Yoyakim and others, right? He was in the marketplace. He was a public Navi, speaking to everybody. He was a public Navi for everybody. Utzvanya bebate knesiot. Where was Tzvanya teaching? In shuls. That was his main place of teaching. The Chulda etzel hanashim. So Chulda was a main Nevi'ah for the Nashim according to the view of Radak, and he's quoting certain midrashim. Unevuato hayta kodem sheshavu Yoshiyahu v'Yehuda mira'atam. So he wants to say also, so why didn't we go right to Tzfanya? Because his nevuot are all tochachot, and they were the ones that brought Yoshiyahu and everyone to do tshuva. So who's not a main Navi now anymore? Tzfanya. So Tzfanya's off. But who do we know for sure is a Navi during this time? It is Chulda and Yirmiyahu. Okay, so we are going back. Go back to page 1. We have to go back to the Pshat. Okay, don't worry, we're going to do a lot of Midrashim and Mefarshim, but we have to go back to the Pshat. So they go to her, and we're going to see, who is she, right? Who is she married to? We talk about it, right? Where is she sitting? We talk about it. But what is her nivuah? And this we have to do before we do all the midrashim and mafarshim. What is her nivuah? And her nivuah is, okay? Vatomer eleim, ko amar Hashem Elokei Israel. She is giving them Dvar Hashem. Right? That is her nivuah. So not only does it tell us she's a niviah, it tells us her nivuah. We don't always have that with the niviot. Dvorah, we know what her nivuah is. Right? Chulda, we know what her nivuah is. Imru la'ish asher shalach etchem elai. Tell the man who sent you. Pasuk Tetzayin. Ko amar Hashem, hineni mevi ra'ah el hamakom hazeh va'al yoshvav. I'm going to bring such an evil, such a terrible event. Et kol divrei hasefer, all the evil, all the tochacha, all those horrible things that you read in that sefer are going to happen. And what do we know about Eicha that Yirmiyahu wrote? We know terrible things happen. Mothers were eating their children. People were dying left and right. People were starving. Yerushalayim was destroyed, right? The women were mistreated, right? People were brought into Galut. Yerushalayim was desolate. Terrible, terrible things happened. The Tochacha, we all know, we read it very quickly because horrible things are in there. Everything that's written in the Tochacha, what does Chulda say? Is going to happen. Everything to all the inhabitants. Why? Pasuk Yud Zayin. Because Azvuni vayekteru Elohim achirim. Right? Because you sacrificed to Avodah Zarah. And you got me angry in everything that you did. And again, what do most Mefarshim say? And especially Yirmiyahu was a pshat in Navi, right? That because of the actions of Menashe, that he entrenched Avodah Zarah among Bnei Israel and brought Avodah Zarah into the Bet Mikdash. So that's why there's going to be destruction. And to Melech Yehuda, though, who sent you, Lidrosh et Hashem, who sent to ask this question, tell him, because you listened to Hashem and you were humbled before me, Vatikana mipnei Hashem, right? Anochi shamati, I listened. Lachen hineni osivcha pasuk kaf el avotecha v'ne'esafta al kivrotecha b'shalom. which means you're going to die in peace. You will not see this destruction that is being brought, Yoshiyahu, because you did tshuva, right? And you are trying to do the right thing, and you will not see all the evil that happened. Now, Chizkiyahu also gets this kind of nevuah from Yeshayahu. Everything that Chizkiyahu does, right? And after he opens up the Bet Mikdash, right, to foreign travelers from Velukam, what does Yeshayahu tell him? There's going to be a destruction, right? You will not be part of it. And what does Chizkiyahu say? Ach shalom ve'emet yeh b'yamai. Oh, I know it's terrible that there'll be destruction, but as long as there'll be peace in my day. So what isn't Chizkiyahu thinking about? The future. But when Yoshiyahu hears these words from Chulda Neviah, what do we find in the next perek? He starts refurbishing even more intense in the Bet Mikdash. He gets everyone on board, destroys all the Avodah Zarah, sets up a Pesach like we never saw before, and that is the Haftarah of the second day of Pesach. Which means Yoshiyahu, hearing the words of Chulda Neviah, is inspired. He hears that the terrible Churban is going to be brought, and he hears this and says, but maybe we could do tshuva. It's not only fair that I'm going to survive, right? I want to make sure that all Bnei Israel will survive, but HaMikdash will not be destroyed. That is her nevuah. And in Divrei Hayamim, we almost have the same language about her nevuah. Divrei Hayamim, that is, according to the Masorah, by Ezra HaSofer, and that retells a lot of the stories, emphasizing different ideas. Sometimes we have more details, less details, right? And that is the message, right, in Divrei Hayamim as well when we talk about Chulda, right? She is, look at source number 2, Divrei Hayamim, Bet, Perek Lamed Dalet, Pasuk Bet, Chilkiyahu, right, goes to Chulda Neviah. And she's Eshet Shalom, just a few variations of the name with letters. He's Shomer Abgadim, she's sitting in Yerushalayim, Bamishneh, and they speak to her, and it's almost an identical nevuah. So we have the same nevuah, same language about Chulda in Malachim and in Divrei Hayamim. So our question is, so she says the nevuah of Churban. Who else is a big Navi of Churban? Yirmiyahu, right? He also is a Navi of Churban. They read about Churban in the Chumash, right? In the Sefer Torah. So why not also go to Yirmiyahu, right? He's also the Navi of Churban. Or why did they go to Chulda? And that's our question. Why did they go to Chulda? Look at number 6. Chulda is considered one of the famous 7 Neviot. We're on page number 2. Look at source number 6. The Gemara explains that Chulda is one of the famous 7 Neviot. And then it goes on in the Gemara to tell us what's the story of each of these Neviot. So it's very important for us because the Gemara, right, is explaining what's in the Chumash. And the Gemara is by Chazal, right? So this is very important for us to understand how are they reading the story of Chulda. So how is Chulda Neviah? Vayelach Chilkiyahu Kohen. Everyone with me? I'm in the Gemara number 7. Vayelach Chilkiyahu Kohen v'achikam v'achbor v'gomer, right? Ubemakom dekay Yirmiyah heiche mitnabi. What's the question? In the place that we have Yirmiyahu as a Navi, right? How could Chulda also be a Neviah? Which means if you have such a heavy hitter like Yirmiyahu, he's such a great Navi, how could you also have Chulda? And not only how could you have Chulda, right? How could you even go visit Chulda and ask her a question if you have Yirmiyahu HaNavi? Yirmiyahu HaNavi is a great man, right? He is a Navi, right? How could you go to Chulda HaNeviah? What the Gemara asks. So Amri Bei Rav. So the base medrash of Rav says, in the name of Rav, Chulda krovat Yirmiyahu hayta. Chulda was a relative of Yirmiyahu. V'lo haya makpid alea. And he didn't mind. It was okay. It was all in the family, right? So you could go to Chulda. That's one view, right? V'yoshia gufa heiche shavik Yirmiyahu mishader legabe. How could you, from Yoshiahu's side, how could he ignore Yirmiyahu and send to Chulda, right? Which means that's also a level. We understand why Yirmiyahu is mochel on his kavod. But how could Yoshiahu think that he would send to Chulda versus sending to Yirmiyahu? That's also a very important question. Amrei debei Rabbi Shila, right? So the base medrash of Rabbi Shila said, Mipnei shehanashim rachmanioten. What did they assume? That the women are compassionate. And Chulda is compassionate. So what is the assumption here? What is the assumption here? That because she's a woman, right, they were reading a nevuah of Tochacha. Of course, what would be her answer or her response? It's okay, don't worry about it. It's not going to happen, right? Which means they were thinking, because she is a woman, right? Because she is a woman, they're going to get a more compassionate answer. And what do we know was the Nevuah? It was Dvar Hashem about the Churban, right? In very strong language. Which means when they went to Chulda, she said Dvar Hashem. And what was Dvar Hashem? That the Churban was going to come. So we all know the answer. They thought they were going to get a compassionate answer, and they didn't. Who did actually get a compassionate answer?
The king.
Yoshiyahu, right? But Yoshiyahu deserved it. So that was also Dvar Hashem, right? Now, why would you even think, or why would Bnei Israel even think, or why would Yoshiyahu even think that they would get a compassionate answer? Because if it's Dvar Hashem, what is it? It's Dvar Hashem, right? We have a big discussion in the Rambam, and then also in the commentaries, right? Especially in Abarbanel, right? But based on the Rambam very strongly, which means how can we have different styles among the Nevi'im? If it's all Dvar Hashem, it should all be the word of Hashem. It should all sound the same. Torah's Moshe is Dvar Hashem. Hashem dictated to Moshe the Torah, and that's why that is the word of Hashem dictated. That is Torah, Moshe mipi Hashem b'Sinai. But Nevuah, what is Nevuah? The Rambam says this very clearly. Nevuah is that you get Dvar Hashem, and then you give it over, right, in a certain way that fits who you are and your way of understanding and your special gift of speaking to Bnei Israel. And that's why then Yirmiyahu, not just, because Yeshayahu also says tochachot. It's not just all nechamot, right? Every Navi, right, has a certain way, right, of giving over their Nevuah. Could it be that they thought because she's a woman, right, so naturally she would be more compassionate? But we all know the answer. They're looking for compassion, but what do they get? They get a very harsh nevuah. This is Dvar Hashem. This is the way it has to be said. She is channeling Dvar Hashem, which means they're looking, for something, but being a Navi is being the messenger of Dvar Hashem. And we see that she says it very directly and very harshly. What? Right. Exactly. And he couldn't change it in any different way. Very good point. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, right? So that is the end. But what's so interesting, meaning who's thinking that the Nashim are more Rahmaniyot? Yes, of course, the women of Am Yisrael are Rahmaniyot. But what is her job? Her job is to give Nevuah. And what's very fascinating about Chulda, as we saw already so far, and we're going to see going forward, is that in Dvorah, at least, what does she say one time in her Shirat Dvorah? Ad shakamti Dvorah, shakamti Eim B'Yisrael. With Dvorah, she says, I'm a mother, right, in Am Yisrael. But do we see anything else about her Nevuah that was more, female-oriented? Not really. It's very close to Shirat Hayam, which Moshe sang. When Miriam is singing, they're dancing, right, for Shirat Hayam. And a lot of the Mefarshim say that was a special, way that Benot Yisrael were singing Shirot v'tishbachot LaHashem, but that doesn't change the Nevuah. Miriam is unusual because she gives Nevuah about birth, right, which is a very female idea. But we see with Dvorah, right, and also with Chulda, that the Nevuah was a very straightforward Nevuah, was Dvar Hashem, right, about Dvorah winning the war, right, fighting, and here we have with, unfortunately, right, the Galut coming. So that's a very interesting point that we're going to come back to. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, right, we're continuing the Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, we're on page 2, we're still on source 7. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Yirmiyah lo havahatam, shalach lach zira seret hashvatim. Why did they go to Chulda? Because Yirmiyahu wasn't even there. And that's why they were going to Chulda. What's the question? If Yirmiyahu is around, how can you go to Chulda? Amar Rav Nachman, lo ya'eh yihiruta l'nashe, tarte nashe yihirin havyan, v'sanyan shemayu. Very interesting. In this same Gemara, all of a sudden we're having this view of Rav Nachman. We have it also in Pesachim. It's not befitting arrogance for women. We have 2 women who were arrogant, and they had unusual names. One's name was Bee, and the other's name was Mole Rat, right? Chulda means a mole rat, a weasel, right? Chulda means a mole rat, a weasel, and Dvorah is a bee. So the Gemara asks the question, how come we have the 2 greatest Neviot that we have, which is Dvorah and Chulda? How come they have names like Bee right, and mole rat. How come they don't have beautiful names?
Asking that, I noticed we have shafam, which is rabbit,
Right.
and bar, which is an ass.
Absolutely. So number one, right, clearly we have many individuals who have many interesting names. Some people want to say Miriam means bitter. Some people want to say Miriam is Meirim, right? You can look at it both ways. You could see a bee, she gives sting, but honey, right, which is amazing. And also a weasel or a mole rat, they dig, but they dig and then produce many things. It's underground, but, they're very special, creatures, right, that are very important for the ecosystem, right? So really, what is the idea here? What is the point of the Gemara, which we're going to discuss right now? And it brings proof text. You always have to bring psukim in order to prove what you're saying. For Dvorah, how do we know she was arrogant? Vatishlach vatikra leBarak. She goes and calls Barak to come to her instead of her going to Barak. Now we know we have good responses to this. What are the good responses that we have to this? One is that maybe Barak was her husband. Number two, where did Dvorah always have to sit? Under the Tomer, to be transparent, for everyone to know where she is. And the Gemara says the best thing about her is that she sat under the Tomer to bring everyone closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everyone knew where she was, no yichud issues, and that is what's so special about Dvorah, that she was always in the same place and we knew where to catch her. And if Barak was her husband, right, then it's okay. And the Ralbag says that Dvorah was so unusual, and she's separated from her husband, Barak. That's why they were separated, because she had nevuah almost to the level of Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's why she's called Eshet Lapidot, a woman of fire, not just married to Lapidot, Barak, but she herself was a woman of fire. So that is very interesting. So what is the Gemara saying here? This Gemara is also not brought when we talk about Dvorah, right? It's brought over here, but it's a very important idea. And why is Chulda, they say, because what does she say? Kirkushta ktiv be, imru la ish vim lo amra imru la melech. Go back to the pasuk, page 1, okay? Go back to page 1, okay? When she gives her nivu'ah, okay? When she gives her nivu'ah, look at pasuk tetvav. When she gives her nivu'ah, what does she say? Vatomer alehem, ko amar Hashem Elokei Yisrael, imru La'ish asher shalach etchem elai. Tell the man who sent you. Who's the man who sent them?
King.
The king, Melech Yisrael. Can you speak that way to a king? Right? And we're going to see one of the Parshanim says, Miyuchas l'Rashi, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Right? One of the Parshanim says that really she wanted to separate the two nivuot. The one nivuah that was for all Am Yisrael, and that's why she says ish for generic. Right? And the other view, right, was just to Melech Yisrael Yoshiyahu, that he'll live, right, and it won't be during his time period, and that's why she splits it in two. Ish, generic for every person in Am Yisrael, and number two, Imru Lamelech. So we know that there are ways to understand, right, why they said, why she sent for Barak, why she calls Ish, and the next, anyway, she says, Bekavod Lamelech. So what's the point here? The Gemara is also trying to understand if women are in positions that they're not usually in, and there are great men who are also in those positions, what should be the role of the woman? How should she behave? And what we see here is that she has to be above any kind of hint of arrogance. She has to behave with humility, not just because she's a woman, because anyone in a super great position. For a woman, it's unusual to be in these kind of positions. And in that sense, she has to have super respect for what's going on, to realize that she's part of the system, that she has respect for the system, and that she doesn't seem, oh, I can be flip, I could be arrogant, I could say whatever I want. Now, you have to understand, when we are careful of what people say, it's only because we really care about those people and we respect them. We see today, a lot of people say whatever they want in whatever different way, and the discourse is becoming crazy. Right? But we lose respect for people when they speak a certain way. So the Gemara wants to be very careful and say, right? We always want to be careful with the people that we amazingly respect. And we respect Chulda, and we respect Dvorah. And we see all the Midrashim and all the Mefarshim are going to say wonderful things about them, but they're also trying to understand, right, in the future, and the idea, right, of a woman in this position, because it is such a special position to be in, because, to be honest, it is unusual. So how does one behave in this position? Yes, she has this position. She is a great Nevi'ah. She is a great person, and we're going to see what the Nevi'im say. What does it mean that she sits in the Mishneh in Yerushalayim? But the Gemara also wants to bring a little bit of a cautionary tale. And this same language or this same idea is used with Moshe and with Shmuel. What is the famous midrash about Moshe? How come the Bnot Tzlofchad, when they come to him with a question, he doesn't know the answer? What is the famous midrash? And what? He said, Kol hadavar hakasheh takrivun elai. Moshe, the most humble person on the face of the earth. How could the Medrash say, oh, because he said, bring all the difficult cases to me? Right? He was the greatest arbiter. He went to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he went on Har Sinai, he got the Torah. Of course he is the greatest arbiter. He should be that last Navi. He should be that last Dayan. But for him to say, Kol davar hakashet takrivun elai, bring everything difficult to me, even Moshe Rabbeinu, who is so humble, that takes away. Who else do we say that about? Shmuel. What did Shmuel say when he was anointing David HaMelech? Sorry, when he's anointing David HaMelech, he doesn't know. Correct. When he's anointing David HaMelech, he doesn't know who the right king is. He doesn't know it's David HaMelech. He knows that he's thinking, oh, it might be the tall, good-looking one like Shaul. But when Shaul was looking for his atonot and he comes looking for Shmuel, what does Shmuel say? Anochi haroeh, I'm the seer. Now Shmuel is identified with Moshe, right? They are identified as a pair of unbelievable individuals who are so modest, who sacrificed their whole life for raising Am Yisrael. They even sacrificed their own children, practically, of raising them in order to be parental figures and teachers for Am Yisrael. And yet the Midrash cautions them, because if you're in such a great position and you are such a great example, you have to be careful. And Dvorah and Chulda, who are women, Niviot, and we're going to learn that all the Mefarshim and all the Midrashim will say that Chulda was also a great teacher. You have to be careful. You cannot be arrogant, right? Especially in this kind of situation. So let's go and see. So what was she teaching? Where was she teaching? How was she teaching? The rest of the Gemara is saying that it brings certain connections, that Chulda is from Rachav's family, from Yehoshua's family, but I'm leaving you the sources. You can continue other things for homework, right? Because we have a time frame. So that's the rest. We're all up front of what's going on. Okay, let's go to number 8. We're on page 2, right? Still, we're going to number 8. Who is one of the first Parshanim, first translations that we have in Navi? Targum Yonatan. In Onkelos, right, that's for Torah. But in Navi, it's Targum Yonatan, very early, right? And what does he say when we talk about Chulda? It says, when it says that she's teaching Bamishneh, right, what does that mean? Look at number 8. She's sitting in Yerushalayim, and Targum Yonatan, one of the first Targumim that we have for Navi, says Bebeit Ulpana. Where is she sitting? In a house of study. Which means one of the earliest information that we have, commentators, right, that we have, 8. It's Aramaic. So the last 4 words, okay? She's sitting in Yerushalayim, Bebeit Ulpana. What does that mean? In a house of study. In the Tanakh, it says she's in the Mishneh. And the question is, what is Mishneh? So Targum says it means a house of study. Because what does Mishnah mean? Mishnah, you go over. V'shinantam levanecha. So this is learning, which means she's in a house of study. So already from the earliest sources that we have, right, Targum Yonatan, he's saying that she is in a house of study. So not only is she a Neviah, but she is also a Milumedet. She is someone who is learned, and she is in the house of study. Now, most important for us today is going to be Rashi. What does Rashi say about Chulda? Right? We did Chet and Yud Gimel about the Torah that they found. So what does Rashi say about Chulda? Okay, El Chulda. So he's also quoting Midrashim. Amru Rabotenu. Right? Lifi she'aisha mirachemet yoter min ha'ish. So he's explaining the Gemara, because a woman is more compassionate than a man, right? Lechach lo shalach el Yirmiyahu. Because what were they expecting? More compassion, right? And that's why they sent to her and not to Yirmiyahu. So that's one view of Rashi. V'yesh omrim, and he's giving another view also from the Gemara, right? Yirmiyahu lo hayasham shahalach lahachzir aseret hashvatim. Yirmiyahu wasn't there because he was bringing back aseret hashvatim. So one is a positive in the sense that proactive. They went to her for a specific reason because they thought she's merachemet yoter. The other one is who's not around. Yirmiyahu is not around, so who's the only one left? The only one left is Chulda. Bamishneh, what does Rashi say? So he's giving both possibilities, right? Bamishneh. What does he say? Bebeit ulpana, in a house of study. So he's quoting Targum Yonatan, which means not only is the Targum Yonatan saying this, Rashi agrees with this view. She's sitting in a Beit Ulpana, and we know this from the Mishnah of Midot. Sha'ar yesh ba'azara, right? There is a gate in the Azara around the Beit Mikdash, sheshmo Sha'ar Chulda b'Masechet Midot. There is a gate that is Sha'ar Chulda. Anyone here take a tour in the Ophel Gardens? And you go up the steps, you go through the Ophel Gardens. Ophel Gardens are the antiques and amazing Bayit Sheni material, right, that we have right next to the Kotel. If you go through the Ophel Gardens, you're walking on those cobblestones from Churban Bayit Sheni. And because Churban Bayit Sheni happened right after Herod built it, they're amazingly new. Okay, you go down and you go to the left. You go to the left and then you go through this little gate and you go up steps, and Al-Aqsa Mosque is right over there. But there are steps, and then there are gates that are partially covered. Those are Sha'arei Chulda till this very day. Those are Sha'arei Chulda till this very day. So, what does Masechet Midot say? They're called Sha'arei Chulda. Why are they called Sha'arei Chulda? Because Chulda was sitting next to the Beit HaMikdash. Chulda was sitting next to the Beit HaMikdash, and because that was the place where she always sat, later on, the Chachamim always called those gates Sha'arei Chulda, which means it was a known thing. This is where she sat and she taught. As Rashi says, this was her house of study. V'yesh shepotrim, others explain, b'mishneh chutz lachoma, ben shnei hachomot shehi mishneh la'ir. Also, again, anyone here is an archaeology buff, when you go to Ir Atikah, you know that when you're in Ir Atikah, the outside are walls from Suleiman the Great, magnificent, very, very late, right? But when you go into Ir Atikah, into the Rova Yehudi, there are, today it's out, there is a choma, there is a wall and a little tower. Right? And that was from the time of Chizkiyahu. When Chizkiyahu was worried about the Assyrians, he builds another gate. So there was the inner gate, the wall, Choma, that was closer to the Beit HaMikdash, and then there was another outer gate that Chizkiyahu built, and she sat between those two gates on the way to the Beit HaMikdash, says Rashi. So what does Mishneh mean? Like a secondary, auxiliary section. And that's where Chulda sat. So she was in a very prominent place in Yerushalayim. But more interesting, we have parentheses here. Now, when we have parentheses, right, in Rashi, there's a big debate. Are these the original words of Rashi, or are these put in very close to Rashi's time, right? But because they're so close to Rashi's time, and maybe from the school of Rashi, or maybe people heard this from Rashi's mouth as a teacher, and they put it into the manuscripts, it's a very big issue. Most of these we have in, right? And look at the beautiful thing that it says. Bamishneh hayta lomdat Torah sheba'al peh. What does it mean, Mishneh? She taught Torah sheba'al peh. She taught Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral law. Lazkenim Shebador, to the elders of that generation. Vehi HaMishnah, meaning she's already starting, right? The ideas of the Mishnah is what she's teaching in the Mishneh, because the words are so similar. Which means she's already teaching a lot of Torah Sheba'al Peh that is going to be some of the basic foundations of the Mishnah. And look, Hey Gimel Hey, Hagaot HaMechaber de Rabbi Akiva. So this is a Masorah somehow from Rabbi Akiva. Again, someone has to really do a lot of work on this because it's so fascinating, this specific piece, right? So there is a Masorah, right, that Rabbi Akiva said these words about Chulda, that she is really one of the early sources of course, Moshe Rabbeinu, Torah Misinai, but she is one of the most important people who's continuing this Masorah. What did we say? What happened during the time of Menashe and Ammon? People were forgetting the Torah. We already couldn't almost find the Sefer Torah. So who was the one, or who played an important role, right, in continuing, right, this Masorah, right, who learned it, right? Moshe Kibel Torah Misina, Misaral Yoshua, Yoshua is Kenim, right? Kenim leNevi'im, right? So she was a very important person in the chain. Also, we find the Midrashim, and especially the Mefarshim, say who else was that important individual and in a very crazy time of Am Yisrael? Dvorah, which means Dvorah was the conduit of Moshe Rabbeinu Yoshua to Shmuel HaNavi. Because during the time of the Shoftim, we don't have great leaders. The only great Navi of that time, right, that we have mentioned is Dvorah HaNeviah. So there's a very Interesting, Rashi. Let's go on. Another view that we find in Rashi, Bamishnah. What does that mean, Bamishnah? Excuse me. Me'ela hadvarim ad le'nei kol Yisrael. What do we know about Sefer Dvarim? Mishnah Torah. So all these views are playing on this idea of Mishnah Torah. So what is she teaching? She's teaching Sefer Dvarim, that is Mishnah Torah. And she's teaching, what is she teaching? Kol hadvarim hanichpalim b'Torah. What's one of the most difficult things in Sefer Dvarim? When things are repeated in Sefer Dvarim, what does it mean? Right? So she is teaching, right, all those things. Oh, why are things doubled in Sefer Dvarim? And she's teaching it barabim, right, publicly. Vegalta ha'onashim, and she's the one who's teaching us about the punishments that you're going to get and the galuyot that you're going to undergo, right? And she is also giving over sodo v'rimzei Torah, sod meisharim, right? These are in the parentheses, but in Rashi, right? And this is always published with the Perush of Rashi in all editions that we have. So what is she doing? She's teaching to understand why things are doubled in Sefer Dvarim. She's teaching about the onashim, the punishments, about the galuyot. And also she's teaching the secrets of Torah, Sod Meisharim, which is real mystical, esoteric lore. So that is fascinating, which means that Rashi really sees her as someone very critical, right, to the continuation of the Masorah. But again, we have to understand that these are in parentheses in Rashi. But even what Rashi says that we have from Rashi, 100% from Rashi, and not just from the school of Rashi, but that is very interesting for us, right? The emphasis of her learning, that she is sitting and learning. Okay, now we're going to number 10, Miuchas Rashi of Divrei Yamim. What did we say? What do we all know? That everything, right, in Divrei Yamim, right, many of the things are really relating to Sefer Melachim, right, and to Sefer Shmuel, the earliest part, and to the whole Torah in a very short prakim of summary. So Divrei Yamim really has a very important role, and we have to do another shiur all about Divrei Yamim. But this is very important. Meaning, I'm quoting Divrei Yamim, right? We quoted it already, and now I'm quoting Miuchas Rashi in Divrei Hayamim. What did I call it? Miuchas Rashi. If you look in the Mikot Gdolot, what is it called? It's called Rashi. But really, the Perush in Divrei Hayamim that is headed as Rashi is really Miuchas Rashi. It's attributed to Rashi. It can't be Rashi because he quotes Rashi, and he quotes Rashi Zichrono Livracha. He has a different style than Rashi, and he also quotes and translates into German. What does Rashi always quote and translate in? Old French. So it's not Rashi, and this is not an Emunah buster at all. This is known, right? This is a known thing. So it's just saying Rashi because when they started publishing and putting in Mikra'ot Gdolot, Rashi did not write a Perush on Divrei Hayamim, right? But they wanted to have Perushim for all of the Sfarim. They found this very old manuscript. He did not sign it, the one who wrote this manuscript, so it's guesswork of who it is. One of the best guesses is that Shmuel ben Kalonimus, a Chassid. He's from Spira in Germania. He is from 1115, very close to Rashi's time, and he's probably the father of Yehuda Chassid, the one who wrote Sefer Chasidim. So the school is very similar to Rashi's Parshanut, and that's why it's very close to Rashi's Parshanut. But if you read the Perush very closely, right, he really quotes Rashi Zichrono Livracha a lot of times, and he doesn't always agree with Rashi's view. So,
does this manuscript exist?
What?
In manuscript form? This Rashi?
So I don't know if they have the original, but the speculation is, I didn't do enough work on this, but this is your area, right? But the Weiss, who wrote the main article, but it's known. I mean, this is not. This is a known thing among learners, right, in the Torah world. But they had to guess because it wasn't signed, but it's also a very early work. So I would have to. I don't know if they found the actual. If they actually have the manuscript, right? But this is the guess that everyone's making if we still have that manuscript today. And also what's very interesting, right, is that he brings in one interesting view that we are going to look into. Okay, so look at Pasuk Kafbet, right? We're top already of page 3. We're finishing up. So Chulda Hanevia, they go to Chulda Hanevia. So he says, Raboteinu darshu lefi she'aisha rachmanit yoter min ha'ish. That's why they didn't send to Yirmiyahu Hanavi. So that's similar to Rashi, right, as we saw. But he doesn't bring the other view of Rashi that Yirmiyahu wasn't around. Shomer B'gadim, he says either he's watching the king's clothes or he's watching the Kohanim's clothes, which is interesting. And another comment that I want to make for those who are interested in this, Radak, one of his first perushim is for Divrei Yamim. And one of his first perushim is Divrei Yamim because they said there's no really good work, known work on Divrei Hayamim. And if Rashi wrote on Divrei Hayamim, for sure, right, they would not ask Radak to write. So even though this was written before Radak's time, right, but it was anonymous and it didn't have the same stature as Rashi's Perush. Okay, Yoshevet v'Yerushalayim b'Mishneh, right, what does he say? Shnei Chomot, right, there are two walls to the city, and Targumo Beit Ulpana, it's a Beit Midrash, right, and what does he say, right? Ki lishka achat, and this he quotes from the Masechet Midot. There was one lishka that Chulda had next to Lishkat HaGazit, and it was called Lishkat Chulda, which means Chulda sat, according to Miyuchash L'Rashi, next to the Sanhedrin. Lishkat HaGazit is where the Sanhedrin sat. She's sitting next to the Sanhedrin. Hayta ptucha lachutz ustuma klapei Sanhedrin. But her wall was closed to the Sanhedrin for tznius purposes, and it was open, right, to the public, so they could come and ask her questions. It was a public place, but it was closed to the Sanhedrin, right, so it wouldn't be improper, and it wouldn't be not sanua for the Sanhedrin. Kach katuv b'masechet midot mipnei hatzniut. So it's so interesting. Tzniut plays a very important role, as we saw before in the Gemara. We know with Devorah, why is she sitting under the Tomer? Because of Yichud, Tzniut, right? And here also, right, she is teaching Torah, but she's teaching it in such a way, and it's placed in such a place, so she's teaching Torah, but in a tzanua way, to know, right, to make it clear, right, what are her values, right, when she is teaching. So, again, we're just going to look a little more, and then I'm going to wrap up. Look at Radak, again, number 11. What does he say about Chulda? So he's saying she's from the children of Rachav. And again, he's saying, you know what Chazal say? Line 2 and source 11. Mipnei shanashim rachmaniot hem. Which means, what do we see is brought over and over again? That the nashim are rachmaniot. That the women have rachmanut, right? And the women have rachmanut, and that's why they asked her. But what didn't they get? They didn't get that, right, full-blown Rachmanut. Maybe, he says, he wasn't, Yirmiyahu was away, not in Yerushalayim. Maybe he was in Anatot, and Chulda was in Yerushalayim, so that's why they asked her. And Radak quotes again, he's consistent, what he said in Sefania. Really, what was Chulda's major role? El Hanashim, right? El Hanashim. And that is, right, the view of Radak, right, that maybe Yirmiyahu wasn't around, and she is mostly giving the nivuah to the nashim, but they asked her because Yirmiyahu wasn't around, and they thought maybe they'd get a compassionate answer. But it's interesting, as we go on, which means Radak is not mentioning the idea of the Beit Ulpana, right, so Rashi says a beautiful piece about her learning, right, we saw that it starts with Targum Yonatan, right, we see Miyuchas L'Rashi continues with that idea. We see Radak goes in a little different direction, but then we're coming back, and again, we're not going to go through everything, but I just want to bring two more. We see Ralbag comes back to the idea, what's the Mishneh? The Beit Midrash. And also Metzudat David, what does he say? Right? They all said they went to Chulda. So what does it mean, Shanashim Rachmanioten? Right? Metzudat David is acknowledging, right? This is Rav Altshuler, this is 18th century Galicia, right? What is he asking? Well, if it's Dvar Hashem, it's going to be Dvar Hashem, right? So she can't change it if it's Dvar Hashem. So beautiful. What does he say? What does it mean, Shanashim Rachmaniot? That she should daven for them. That they went not thinking she could change the Nivuah, because whatever the Nivuah is, that's what it is, right? And he says, or maybe the other ones, right, were not in Yerushalayim. And again, he says, what's Bamishneh? Right? This is between, the two walls. So he's talking about tefillah, and also that, she's sitting between the two walls.
And
so
all the other women with her?
What?
All the women she's teaching are sitting there with?
So if you're saying she's a moral nashim, that the women are there. If you go by Rashi, she's teaching the Zakanim, the major Zakanim of the generation, which is an interesting question, right? What does that mean? But that is a very interesting and strong Rashi, and that's maybe what the Miuchas Rashi is trying to say. She's doing it in a very tsanua way, right? In a special place. Right, not as part of the Sanhedrin, but it's a special place where the women are learning in this Mishneh, or if she's teaching the men, it's done in some, special, right, and tzanua way, because we see that tzniut is one of the main things. What I want to bring is a very interesting idea in Melachim Bet, Perek Yud Gimel 14, and we're almost at our last source, and then I just want to wrap it up. Okay, what we see here is very interesting, right? When Elisha dies, they bury him. And when they bury him, right, someone touches his bones and comes back to life. And the Medrash says, who was this person who came back to life? It's Chulda's husband. Because his name is Shalom ben Tikvat, right? Tikva, hope. It's a very interesting midrash. And look what it says. I'm on number 14, right? And I'm on the bottom 3 lines. V'hu migdolei hador haya, v'oset tzidkot b'chol yom. Which means, really, when we talk about Chulda, we're mentioning her husband, right? He was watching the clothes of the king, or, right, watching the clothes of the Kohanim, but we don't say much about him, right? We're really focusing on Chulda and what she did. But we have this very interesting view in the Midrash that he's Migdolei Hador, and he did tzedakot, and what did he do? He gave water to all the people who were sitting at the opening of the city. And so interesting, because what is Chulda doing? She's sitting also, right, at the gates of the city. V'chol adam shaya ba min haderech, and everyone who would come, he would give them to drink and make them feel good. And in his chut of his tzidkot, right, sharta ruach hakodesh al ishto. Now, what is so interesting? We have a reversal of roles, which means usually who's giving the water and who's doing the chesed, right, and who's running the Gemilos Chesed committee? The women, right, and who are the ones teaching Torah? The men. So there's a very interesting enabling role here, which means it's in the schut of his doing chesed, right, that Chulda had nivuah. Now, this is very interesting, because what do we usually say about the women? Because the women are enabling the men to go to shul, right, to learn Torah, right? So the men have the schut of learning Torah, but the woman is the enabler. Here we see a very interesting enabling role, right, in this husband and wife idea. We also see this interesting enabling role when we talk about Dvorah. The question was, she made the wicks, so her husband would get a schut, bring it to the Mishkan, and because she let her husband bring wicks to the Mishkan and gave him schut, that's how come Hashem, right, picked her, because she's just a chesed person. So it's very interesting, this interplay, right? Relationship, someone has to be the chesed person, right? And someone has to be, the more, maybe intellectual, right? Or Torah learning of the individual. So this is very interesting. Also, we have that with Elkanah, right? Elkanah would bring everyone to not Yerushalayim at that point, to Shiloh, right? And because he was the one bringing everyone to Shiloh, encouraging other people, so in his schut, Shmuel came, right? Because the pshat is, of course, in whose schut Shmuel came, it is in the schut of Hannah. Okay. Breshit Rabati, 15 is the last one. We have a beautiful medrash, which is based on Rav Moshe Hadarshan, a very early medrash, because Rashi quotes it a lot, right? Is that there were 22 Nashim Ksherot, and who's one of them? Chulda Hanevia. Now, these are very unique, special women, which means the Medrash wants to say, and everything we saw from the Parshanim want to say very special things about Chulda. So, what are we learning about Chulda? What is the takeaway, right? Because we did the sources, we did the ideas, we had our big question. So, really the outstanding women of Am Yisrael are really important role models for us today. And when the Chachamim and the Parshanim are writing about them, they really want to focus and teach us something. Many of the women in Tanakh focused on chesed, right, Jewish destiny, and their role is more gemilut chesed and in that capacity. But we do have many of the Neviot, right, and other women like Benot Tzlofchat, some of my favorite women in Tanakh, right, who continued spirituality, Torah, intellectualism, tefillah, humility, steadfastness, right, and Chulda is really a great example of this. What's fascinating is that in the Pshat, right, there is nothing very women-oriented about her nivuah, right? She gives a nivuah tochacha, right? They might expect, right, that she would give a different kind of nivuah, but this is Dvar Hashem. And also, the Torah that she's teaching, according to most of the Mefarshim that we saw, is just Dvar Hashem, which means she is teaching Torah, the Masorah, right, that has been given over, and she is an important linchpin. Dvorah also, she is an important linchpin, right, of what she is teaching. We saw with Sarah Shma Bekolah, right? She partners with Abraham, converting the women, bringing them closer to Hashem, and focusing her energies on Jewish destiny. We see Miriam was the Moral Nashim, a teacher, an inspiration, and she brought the women together at Yam Suf. And without her, we wouldn't have Moshe Rabbeinu. Benot Tzlofchad, right, who taught us humility and great learning, and they brought back the conversation of respect. Chulda, right? We'll talk about her in a second. But in Benot Tzlofchad, in their conversations, they are trying to make sure that when you have a halachic question, you ask it respectfully, and you ask it to the right leaders. They brought back principled discourse and feeling part of Dvar Hashem. Dvorah also, a Nevi'ah and Shofetet, who was an important link, as we said, between Moshe, Yoshua, and Shmuel, who brought Bnei Israel back to Hashem during the time of the Shoftim, right? And she herself was very passionate about the Torah she taught, and a very important link. Chana, also one of the Nevi'ot. It was her tefillah and her passion that taught us the halachot of kavanah in tefillah b'lachash of Shmoneh Esrei. And as the Gemara in Brachot says, right, almost all the halachot that we know about Amida, about Shmoneh Esrei, is from Chana. And Avigail, who used her insight and her passion and intelligence, right, to save Malchut David and to focus his future on his future and on Hashgachat Hashem. And now we come to Chulda. So what do we see about Chulda? She does give a harsh nivuah. She's giving over Dvar Hashem, right? And she gives words about the Churban. But she inspires Yoshiyahu to make sure that Bnei Israel try to do a great tshuva, to do Pesach, and to continue refurbishing the Bet HaMikdash. She sat in the Mishneh, right? We know it was a Beit Ulpana. Was it near the Sanhedrin? Was it between the walls? Who was she teaching, right? What was she teaching? From everything we see, she is really teaching and giving over the Masorah of Dvar Hashem, and according to Rashi, a very interesting message and lesson. But we also saw the Gemara that mentions the idea of arrogance, right? And we see that everything we see about the Midrashim, about Chulda, is that she wasn't in any way, that she really, was sitting by Mishneh trying to teach Torah, and we have that worry, right? We do have that worry, and we see in everything from the Mefarshim, right, that they are trying to understand and see that she really was a woman of tzniut, a woman who sat next to the Sanhedrin, but not in the Sanhedrin. Sharei Chulda, she was known as someone who was teaching Torah, right? But in a very unique way and in a unique place. So on the one hand, Chulda was an Isha, so maybe that makes her unique. But really, the bigger picture is that she wasn't unique. She really gives the regular Nevuah of Hashem, and she really teaches the regular mainstream Torah. Because she was a woman, maybe her venue had to be different. Maybe her audience had to be different. But what we see from all the Nevi'ot and all the great women of Am Yisrael is it's their yearning to teach Dvar Hashem, to be Yirei Hashem, to really spread Avat Hashem, to be part of the Masorah. And we see them as part of the Masorah, to be part of that continuity. And that is really what we see that is so important. This idea of Avat Hashem, Yirat Hashem, Dvar Hashem, Masorah of Hashem. Every single one of the great women in Tanakh, right, they are trying to continue, right, the message of the Masorah, the message of Am Yisrael. And by being part of the community, maybe, different venues, right, Bamishneh, whatever that was. Or Dvorah had to do it Tachat HaTomer. Benot Tzlofchad come to the leaders of that generation and ask with humility, right, the great leaders of that generation. They come respectfully, which means what we see of all of these great women is really this great, I think, inspiration. And I think that should really be a great inspiration to us, that our job is also to be Mekadosh Shem Shamayim. As the Rambam says, right, what's our job? That Shem Hashem mitahev al picha, that the name of Hashem is loved because of you. And that's what we see with all these Neviot, with all these great women of Am Yisrael. They are part of this great chain of Masorah. They are continuing giving over Dvar Hashem. And because they do it in this unself-conscious way, and they do it as part of being seen of this bigger chain, of this bigger mahalach, seeing themselves as conduits of Dvar Hashem, whether we start with Sarah, who's converting the women, and we end with Chulda, right, today, right, who is, Bebeit Ulpana, sitting next to the Sanhedrin, teaching Torah, but teaching the secrets, and really seeing herself, and really projecting that Ahavat Hashem and that Yirat Hashem. And I think for us, that's such a great lesson, that all the Torah that we teach, all the Torah that we learn, all the mitzvot that we do, all the ideas and our message to our family, to our friends and the community is this idea that Shem Hashem mitahev al pinu, which means we should be these kind of people that want to make sure that Torah will continue and the tshuva of Am Yisrael will continue and Dvar Hashem will really have continuity through us. Thank you.
Okay, if you'll just give me one moment, I need some sound.
Thank you very much, Smadar, for another of your very illuminating shiurim. May I just have your attention for one more moment?